Welcome to the Hazara Pioneers Library on UMuji Strategy, presenting to you the Enchanted Prince, or Adventures of Khoja Nasreddin. Chapter 2. At last, fate ordained a wonderful encounter which precipitated events. Inali taqdeeran yak kar shud. At last, fate ordained a wonderful encounter. Yak du nafar sardasar shud. Yak kar shud which precipitated events. On his way to the Chaikhana in the evening, Khoja Nasreddin always passed a deaf and dumb mendicant. Am lalau, am gungaya, am kara. یک دنه کرکتر میتر نورمالی ششته وقتی که چای خانه مورای روز رو مینگرنا. On his way to the Chaikhana in the evenings, Khoja Nasreddin always passed a deaf and dumb mendicant who sat under a reed awning at the entrance to the old ruin mosque of Gohar Shad. مسجد گوهر شاد معروف مسجده. یک کاراکتر بود بخالم که خیلی مردم خوش داره و بس بریزو یگودنا همیتون ماسک هم جور شده لیکن این رولر بوده یگودنا گوهر شاد. لیکن علی خراب شده این مسجد به نام گوهر شاد بوده لیکن او خراب شده دم زودتای زو یک دونه درختی زیر سایه هم زود درخت یک دونه باکول اونمونجی منده پرتاوا که هم کره am gungaya. In appearance, he was just an ordinary mendicant, in no way distinguished from the numerous members of his brotherhood who scurried about the bazaar. On murkam gadagara ki bazaar purnagda, thao bal ramora mislam zunal lidiga. Roamed the streets, swarmed around the mosques, tombs, the mazara, the qabristana, and such other holy places as tended to soften the hearts of the faithful and, what is more important, loosen their purse strings. हमें जाया बस मर्दुम कम तो चुनकी तो हालत ही अकेदाई माया दिया बस जेबाम खाली मुझे दिलाम कम चीज़ाया बस मुझे खूब कमाई है दिया ये कहता कराएं मुझे थी देर में तो बाजार. What was strange about this mendicant was that he had chosen a mosque that had long been closed and was no longer attended by anyone. लेकिन इन पाली मस्जिद की एच का समझी नाम और आमीन जिश्ता ही दिखरोई चमत राम और कमाई के दरे है इकरार उन्हें जिश्ता and which was therefore little suited for the prosperous plying of his trade. बस गुफ्त ना ये अगर अजीब पैदा गिराम वो तो खुई ना ये चरंजी में जिश्ता है ये खुबाइद राम और The mendicant acknowledged the half tanga. Inal ini currency tanga. Shindeira half tanga uzaman kalan paisa buda. Which Khoja Nasreddin daily gave him. Ini mana arroz urmidadu. With a silent nod and a timid glance of his kindly old eyes. Which seemed to have recaptured from the distant past a childlike limpidity. Then he would roll up his threadbare mat and retire into the mosque. Amid the ruins of which he apparently lived. Sharing his solitude with the bats and owls. Owls ko by qosh na. If bat is a cheese basha, kida angrezi urcham gadar mga. Shparagi kor. ठीक है? यानी याद दिगा इनमें चीज़ा बात है मैंने से खराब है दिगा. ये रफ्तान मुझे जाय पैदा किया. ये मखू कोर अगर नहीं कार ख्वास्ता. गुंगा है. हम ज़्यादा काबिल है. One day, this deaf and dumb mendicant suddenly spoke. It happened on a bleak late afternoon. Afternoon at the close of winter. Clouds had overcast the sunset. A drizzling rain was falling slantwise. And an inclement wind whistled among the bare branches of the trees. Rippling the turbid water in the puddles, and fluttering and turning up the awning of reeds over the heads of the old mendicant. Khoja Nasreddin had stopped before him and put his hand into his pocket for the usual coin. But before he could draw it out, the mendicant put forth his emaciated arm and uttered in an earnest voice, "Grieve not, Khoja Nasreddin, ere long you will cast off your dark spectacles." Khoja Nasreddin, I know you. In the Pasna chapter, you were not here. Ki the Khojan tamda as galti di galim da was dan burshut Khojan khatucham guftan tiga bori Khojan. Ali inji tamam budagoya, tamam piraya na. Bazum da gashtara ya mane khub baag ma gariq mariqa. Digi ki pasawa Khalid shaykhana moramaya. Lekin min jawalna encounter mushaqadazi. Ki zabitas dich megramaga. Khoja Nasreddin, grieve not, Khoja Nasreddin, ere long you will cast off your dark spectacles. Khoja Nasreddin stood stricken with amazement. Hayran shud. Istur khabar shud bhai. His eyes popping and his mouth agape. One hand thrust into his pocket. Knowing all the artifices of mendicancy, he was not surprised to hear this deaf mute speak. But how did the old man know his name? The mendicant read his thoughts. "Fear not, fear me not, Khoja Nasreddin," said he, a faint gleam flickering in the depths of his dim eyes. "In the hope of receiving your aid, I have sought speech with you for many long a year." Barezi ki ma koma gestur hasil kanum, sala ma da pas zim ki ma paida kanum qastu torabugum. "In the hope of receiving your aid, I have sought speech with you for many a long year, but never till now have I succeeded. Albeit I have seen you oft aforetime. I saw you in Bukhara, when I sat with my cup by the cistern of Labi House. I saw you in Samarkand." "Stay! Sabr kutu!" Khoja Nasreddin interrupted him, his astonishment growing with every word the mendicant uttered. "How? In what manner did you learn of my being here? You have filled my heart with disquiet." "Cast fear from your heart. Aslan tashwish na karte. None in all this region save myself knows of your sojourn here. Main janta hu. I was told thereof by a brother of your secret fraternity of the silent and the sapient." Yaki az brother shmo ki khazmand walum ki damne tariqat shmo damne brotherhood brotherly shmo shamila कि ना खारशी साइलेंस है इना रसीदायन लेकिन कद दी आदमी कहता कि बोलने का नहीं है कि बाज पढ़ना होना ना बाज सेल ने सोटा रेश तो गुजाया इना एक ब्रदरहुड अस्तान मगा ई उमरा गुफ्त तो गुजाए silent and the sapient, otherwise called the starry wanderers. आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ. Starry wanderers. While passing through the bazaar at the onset of winter, he chanced to behold you at a moment when a heedless porter knocked off your dark spectacles with his pack. قلت لك حادثة شد يتور داود جاي ده بدك يا أنا كايت ويا نفر من درت برخورد كات أنا كايت فريد وش ناخ كتوي نمي توي وازو مرخا ورك توي مش بيدا عمشي ما مدوم أسباستو. I remember, answered Khoja Nasreddin, but that brother of yours must possess great keenness of sight. खूब तेज निगाह दर्शता बता वो दिया एक ज़ूद कि माँ आयना कि परित गामा पोषित वो दीत मरा. To have been able to recognize me in so brief an instant? Are you sure he combines not the secret fraternity of the silent and the sapient with some other secret fraternity of the overhearing and overlooking? आई ब्रदरहुड ब्रेक ब्रदरहुड दिखे करना ना कि मतलब खबरार भी सुनने क्यों ना कार सुनने का तो एक इसमें चीज़ करना था. I'm listening everything and I'm seeing everything. Sin not. तोबा तोबा खुदाया तो बदगबाना की. The mendicant sternly checked him. He was a pious brother. परहेज़गार वो तरीक़त बिक़दर मकाम दरा वो तू मुझे द्रोह गुफ्ता क़ज़मा. He was a pious brother whose memory is sacred to me. خیلی خوش دارم دیادم مایو. For he has already passed from this perishable world از دنیای فانی تشریف بردهشان into another and higher state. Forgive me, venerable sage, بسیار ببخشین محترم. معذرت میخوایم. said Khoja Nasreddin, feeling inwardly drawn towards the dervish. حالی کشیش پیدا کرده کیه ای dervish? And inclined to trust him. دلچم موشه که می راست مگه بایی. Now tell me, why did you speak to me today and not before? ये गब चर्च रुक दे. According to our rules, I must be deaf and mute for the duration of 363 days in a year. روزه سکوت مو گرفته 363 روز. 2 روز مو علاوه است کرده من سال. हमें तो सोशल मीडिया अप्लाई ना करने. According to आले वक्त मुझे तुचारस पेज कब ना मुझे देखी दिशाओ कब से दी. मुझे according to our rules, I must be deaf. माई चीज़ नशिंदम and mute. एक चीज़ ना गुफ्तम नहीं दूँ. For the duration of 363 in a year, answered the old man. You are the first person to whom I have spoken after a year's silence. You are the first person. أولا نفرق ما قصدوا رامكم بعد ذيك سال silence. Today is the first of those 2 days when I am suffered to remove the seal from my lips. As for previous encounters, they took place either before or after these days, and I was perforce silence. دیگه وقتا که دیگه شعارات دیدم دیگه تیم برابر شده چه مرا نبود که گفتگو میکردم ما چقدر سپاس تو گشتم تو کجایی تو. After these days and I was perforce silent, albeit my heart yearned towards you and my soul was drowned in tears. چه قسم آوایی کردم چه قسم دعا کردم که در تو بیرسم ما. Speak. بوگی دیگه نه. What is your sorrow? چیز که دتورا. چیز دیوز ده. What aid would you solicit from me? Exclaimed Khoja Nasreddin, moved by the old man's words. Happily, you are in need of money, Honorable One. Banazarim, maybe. Happily, old version, maybe. Maybe you're in need of money. I chance to have 150 tangas hidden away in a secret place, unbeknown to my wife. Yaknim sad rupias ta ek jai put kodam khatun khabar nahi hai. Unmur turmi qarar bor kar pesh bar. Paisa da karti hai na. I am a darwish. Chiz mo gitu. Urumor ko ga tark de. This time is diura. Mu darwishi. Mu energy ne girifte. I am a darwish and seek no benefits in this world other than spiritual. غير از روحانی دیگه مو هیچ چیز نمیخوانی. The old man answered with dignity. باوقار داز. چیز خیال کردی مورا. گدایگر خیال کردی. ایده کالای ما رفته. Nay, it's not money I ask of you. However, this is no place to speak of such things. Here, upon the road, in the cold wind, come with me. They passed into the ruined mosque. The old man ushered his visitor into a small cell which had miraculously survived the earthquake. ये खराब खातिर earthquake شتا بوده مسجدی گوهر شاد. از بعد واپس بیلد کردن ظاهره وره لیکن دزو دوره که قصه نصرالدین مخرابیش از خاطر earthquake لیکن یک دن اتاق مانده ده. And lit a lamp with the aid of flint and steel. یک رقم آتیش داغ کرد. خوجا نصرالدین perceived a straw litter in a corner. همینجا کا تیت بوده کنجوک. کم کا آوار کدد. The old man's bed. An earthen pitcher of water. یک سرایی گلی. دو کنجا گشته ہے. And a broken pot covered up with a dark, stale bread cake which mice had nibbled around the edges. بس یک دنه کاسه میده که چند لغمنان که پرده بوده منار مشام داده خورده ده. بقای جا چشته بوده. There was nothing else in the cell. نزو کلبه هیچ چیز دیگه نبود. Indeed, the old man who had probed all the profundities of and wisdom of Darwish learning needed nothing else. واقعی که من کرنم گو یک بادشاه آدم هایی بودی. بقام یزدی چیز دیگه. فقط دونا کاوار که دبلش خواهنا یعنی دیزی آو مخرانزی لغمنان قد مشاقتی كمونارا مثل كم خوش مرقرة خاون بغض الدنيا. Taking the bread cake يعني نان يا كلچا عرشي بقيم. The old man carefully broke off the nibbled edges into his palm. ريزة ريزة كد أمو نانارا أمو كلچا مايدا مايدا كد بالقاف ديسخو and strewed the crumbs on a little rag spread in a corner before a mouse hole. بس قالينا منجي أوار Then he divided the cake into two and offered one half to his guest, saying, "Let us sup before we talk." Which is Bukhari, baz toramagi. No, let us sup before we talk. Sup, S-U-P, sup. Supper. Biya logmanan Bukhari baz egab mogi toramagi. The wind howled without the bro khayli badiyah and penetrated through the chinks, bending and agitating the thin flame of the lamp. The shadows flickered upon the walls and ceiling. Now obscuring, now revealing the old man's gaunt, hooked nose face. همینطور بینی هوکلی همینطور گاهی یکی سر مخرایشم گاهی چهرهش معلوم میده بسم گاهی گم میشه. There in that poor cell, to the dismal accompaniment of the howling wind, the incessant, non-stop patter of the rain, خوب باد تند باریش هم هسته یک دنش هم داغه دو دنه با کولر میشته and the squeaking and scurrying of the mice چوچوی موش هم میاد رو. Among the straw they began their conversation. به امزی توفانی کیفیت گفتگو شروع میشه. گپ چیه؟ تو کی بایی؟ چیز میخوای بوگی قزمه. The old man groped about in a corner, got out from under the straw a bundle. رفت زیر امزوکا یک دانه بندل بور کرد. یک بخچه. Untied it. واز کرد. And emptied a heap of small silver coins on the stone floor. رزگگ ام تو سکه های چندی مگه دیده اردو نقره ای امنا قرار خالی کت پیشیشت. Here is the money you have dropped into my cup. دمست روزه که دمست روپی دیده دی ما پیسی تو واپس جمع کدیدم برید. Here is the money you have dropped into my cup. I have saved it all. Keep this money, venerable one, and bestow it when occasion offers upon some poor man. Ego gharib ra, dada porum te pesh. Burdened with a large family. Bingan ego gharib ki, dostoish zyada bide manar. Kam guzarish shuna. Take it and join it to those 150 tangas of which your wife knows not. Here is the money you have dropped into my cup. I have saved it all, even to your coin of yesterday. Take it and join it to those 150 tangas of which your wife knows not. Never have I yet taken back my alms. Yani chi, ye sadqa hai, sadqa ki pas migra. Itraz mana Nasreddin. Mugistur ma yuru pir pas bigro. Protested Khoja Nasreddin. Keep this money, venerable one, and bestow it upon, when occasion offers, upon some poor man burdened with a large family. Irma pas burda nemitanam. Bas pesh ko basha, bas iwe digar bidi. And now tell me, what aid do you seek from me? Khoja Nasreddin maga kinal bugi paisaram pesh ko bele ukas digar bidi bugi chigaba. The old man, without answering, became sunk in thoughts. Raft. Which, judging by the sighs that attended it, was of a distressful nature. Nasreddin fikr wala gufti بسیار دا ego غم مبتلایا چون که وقتی د فکر رفت گبم نموگدرو کشه دریه خوجا نسردین مگو سرغمگین ستوری باشه بایدی. A long time passed. The wick, becoming covered with snuff, crackled and shot forth sparks, and the flame burned low. تاو حد کی بیخی چراغ درو ختم شده رهیه خلاص شده رهیه با کلیش طور نمگه باز. Khoja Nasreddin carefully snuffed the wick with his stick, and flame brightened up and lit up the old man's countenance. قدم سوتيخ كم شولر برابر كده باز واپس روشن. He looked up. Answer me first, Khoja Nasreddin. Have you already found your fate? تراخ پیدا کده؟ به یقین رسیده؟ Answer me first. وقتی روشن مشه شوله با کلتور تورا مایا. Answer me first, Khoja Nasreddin, have you already found your faith? یقینی ده یقینی راه رسیده؟ My faith? ایمان از ما؟ Khoja Nasreddin echoed, surprised. I know it since a child. تو دین یاد میدی مرا؟ Islam is my faith. Although I must confess, I often sin against it. گناه زیاده. That is the common faith. ये इस्लामी उमूमी है, तमाम मिरक़मा. That is the common faith, answered the old man. To every living man is revealed another special faith. بس بطريقة معي قد استو communication مش تورك particular duty ده مش. وخو كامانا وخو everybody مكنا. A private faith of his own. I ask you about your own private faith. As Islam خو نبوگی، as ایمان خو مربوگی. Khoja Nasreddin was obliged to confess that he had no private faith of his own. मुझे चीज़ मुझे तो आता ही, मैं उसको तो चीज़ ना दरूँ, कुदम duty कुदम. I thought so. Mama mitfikadam, the old man said. Yet, therein lies the key to all the riddles that perplex us. Know your faith, and darkness shall become light for you. Duty khurpayda ko aur mutariki bari roshni misha. Confusion, clarity, unmeaningness, harmony. Your life, O Khoja Nasreddin, has always been full of activity. Tu farig nahi. But hitherto, that had merely applied to its outward aspect, whereas the spirit, unperturbed by quest, had been content with ordinary common sense and freely reveled in its feeling of affinity with the world. Now, that activity has turned inwards, embracing also the spirit which has, as it were, acquired its own ass, astride whom it is wandering from Bukhara to cause, to the Istanbul to effect, the Baghdad of doubt and the Damascus of negation. Seek your faith, Khoja Nasreddin, and if you find it not yourself, I shall prompt you. एक लंबा की गुफ्तगू के आखिर से में बुत कि तू बायद ईमान खुर पैदा करने चीज़ ईमान दे बोले चीज़ ऐसे ही तो अगर तू अज़ियत तरह मैं कोशिश न तो कमाक करना लेकिन तू इनाली रईश उस पछती ईमान खो. O venerable sage, you have peered into the innermost depths of my soul, to the ruhas markhandi. You know all my cherished thoughts. तू हर चीज़ खबर दे. That is so, said the old man. Know that I accompany you in thought, in all your wanderings, and share in all your doings. Wheresoever you may be. Whatsoever you may do, every deed of yours, even every word uttered by you, reaches me and engraves itself upon my mind. Therefore, to be recast into the beneficent reflection, in me, you behold, as it were, your own self. Something in mind, that has already passed into the ultimate phase of earthly existence. Something ma advanced level to you. Ma page of tom kam, nal pas man tu pas man dek tur kam kama kanam tum verser ne khodra. When the storms and passions have given way to serenity and wisdom. وقت tu pukhta shudi, وقت ki az jazbat tu calm down shudi, wa aql tu kar kado shuru kat, باز اون اینجا تو مفهمی که ما چی میگفتم. Great Allah, Allahu Akbar. It is a truly wonderful case to meet oneself upon the road in the shape of an old man and the guise of a mendicant. Oh, to advanced level as my taram de khod barabar kadi each bakht ba khuda. There was a slight ringing in Khoja Nasreddin's head, for the old man's strange speeches had perplexed and bewildered him. And the bing manakam gangs to the mullah, Khoja Nasreddin. However, that was but the beginning. Ye khali beginning starts the taza. He was to hear many more astonishing things. Abhi to hayrat ki ibtida hai. Worthy sir, Muhtaram Sahib, but what is the affair for which you have sought me out? Khub boogi gab cheez hai, tu pas ma char lag de dekh sala. Cheez me khayaz na, tu mar boogi am duty ra. Mamunum. The dervish lowered his grey head. The hour is near. The hour is near, very near, when, bereft of speech and of breath, I shall lay me down upon the burial litter, he answered with profound sorrow in his voice. Foreknowledge of that hour fills me with trepidation, and in tears I supplicate you, help me. Tamam shmo most important miss kedin. Yak, yegush mgosh kedin. Umugal khubugi na tu bere cheez mara cheez kar dere. Aspas mein sala ikht tu ikhmar mishnasi. Mara hi tu pasand kede. Wa tu bere zo duty de nahi mara. Wo cheez asta ho. Moga वक्त रसते रही है और माँ खदरो खबरों की चीज़ उधर रही है चीज़ दुनिया माँ for knowledge दरों यानी from before माँ खबरों की चीज़ दुनिया माँ दज़ू नेटवर्क शामिल हूँ इल्म ज़ूर मर दादा इन्हें मर शानदा इंज मगर तोरा नहीं गिनल तमाशा को खाली इन तू ही रोल रहा था कि नहीं इधर मैंने ड्रामा लेकिन माँ खबर हूँ तमाम मज़ीरा मगर ये मर इंटर था कि इधर नतीजा नरसता मर इंटर आओ किधर है चल के माँ already advanced knowledge दरों दोबारे ज़िकार foreknowledge of that hour fills me with trepidation वो माँ खबर हूँ कि माँ कहीं मुर्दनी है वो उमर बसियारा मितर अज़ियत मना and in tears and माँ गिरिया न पेश तो ज़ारी नम I supplicate you help me how raise you from the burial litter nay save मगर माँ तुस्तर जिंदे मितनम भाई as गोर तुर बुर मितनम मगर तुम as गोर में मर बुर को ये प्रोजेक्ट तू के दिनी माँ हेल्प मोनम लेकिन माँ खुद मना मितनम मगर तुर तुम as गोर तुर करनम तुरा मगर no save my spiritual being रूह मरने जात भी दे from relapsing into its pristine lower condition from out of which I had struggled ages and ages ago सालहा मुझे उम्रहा मुझे कि माँ अज़ू पस्ती कोशिश कर रही हूँ खुद बाल बवरम अज़लाज़ रूहानी कि माँ बन मंदों how many reincarnations my spirit has undergone चंद दफ़ा अमदो रफ्ता देख शक्ल अमदा बसम रफ्ता कारश पूरा नश्तानोस fully qualified नश्ता ज़ीफ़ानी दुनिया कारश मंदानोस how many reincarnations my spirit has undergone during the infinity of time how many toilsome efforts it has made on the path leading to perfection وبري كسب كمال أسكتم كتم رهاي تير نشدا owing to my criminal negligence सिर्फ बखातिरी गफलत में सालहा उम्र है कि मैं बार मायूं में रूह में वापस दम से मकाम को न मरा रफ्ता नहीं मिलता था रफ्तों ज़िल्लत की पस्ती की इंतहा मंदों owing to my criminal negligence it is destined to begin the whole circle it is destined to begin the whole circle again मिस के दे बाज़ बोर स्टार्ट को वापस from the first and most imperfect stage. वापस मगर बिल्कुल अज़लिफ शुरू को वापस वो बंदे खुदा माता नून रसन नून बुर वापस बोल चलिए बाकी दिन तो merciful Allah. Exclaimed Khoja Nasreddin, shaking his head. I understand nothing. I understand nothing, nothing whatsoever. Tell me in plain, simple words. Amur hazirgi bugina palm hazirgi soft. What do you desire of me? Ma cheez kar kanam. The anchor of my salvation is in your hands. Nijat is my sister. Ein hazirgish. The anchor of my salvation is in your hands, repeated the old man. I see that you will not understand me until I have revealed to you certain secrets known to us, the silent and the sapient. Very well. Khoja Nasreddin acceded, seeing that there was no other way of getting an intelligible answer out of that old man. Very well, I am ready to receive your secrets. And book diya. Then let us begin in the name of truth. Bismillah shaitanam haq. The mendicant said in a solemn voice, but first, change your place. For my mice are afraid to come out of their holes to have their supper. Khoja Nasreddin changed his place, and the mice came out of their holes and supped. Thereupon the old man prayerfully smoothed out his beard between his two hands and spake thus. May the higher wisdom bless our conversation and bestow upon you the gift of understanding. खुदा तौफीक भी दे कि तू बुफामी और बरकत दवनी खैर दमज़िगा बज़मो दवनी कलाम ज़मुबाया. And upon me the gift of lucidity and profundity. Sir sada simple the asani bugum gabradar tbirsannu. Idwar me khana, he shut his eyes and remained silent for several minutes. His countenance preserving a rapt and solemn expression as if he were listening to some secret inner voice. Tune manadro. Ma line up kanam kizun transmission baya mabugo mirana. Inner secret was durun maya. Then his face cleared and he lifted a finger, commanding his guest's attention. The old sage's secret concerning the reincarnation of the soul had long been known to Khoja Nasreddin. Pir Murshid, the old sage's secret concerning the reincarnation of the soul had long been known to Khoja Nasreddin from his talks with Indian dervishes. Chirki Nasreddin khad Indian dervisha ki milawsh do khabar dara ki reincarnation cheez khela. But he held his peace for the sake of courtesy. Bugum ki maam khabar dar reincarnation cheez bas gutu sabar kutu kem bakul thora ho gaya. Imperceptibly, his thoughts strayed to his family and to the coming spring, and the old man's discourse became a faraway, monotonous voice, like the steady hum of a spinning wheel, and the words themselves were obliterated. Ali استيستي مثل رافت مثل شمولنا وقفت رفتري استيستي آوازا كام صدرافت بس دي شورت فهمني خرافت مثل خو بارم درايا مايا زوستو من ترستا خو أنا ري خو يرفتونجي خطوط قفترية. A week hence, a southerly wind would blow, mused Khoja Nasreddin. بس وده فكرة يعني ترى بعد ما بعد بحري ما بعد خوب صباح ما انتر زي شورته. The roads would thaw, the ice at the mountain passes would settle, and a week thereafter, the caravans would set forth upon their distant journeys, and the nomads would take foot with their herds. إذا شورتها بس قدم زنا بس بحار مشى بس دشت آواز مشى بس مور إنديكا. The spinning wheel droned on, and a minute later a light snore, punctuated by a soft whistling through the nose, arose in the cell. Alu gabz daraya, ek dafki asteste mein tarami. Khoja Nasreddin slept. His lips were parted. His skull cap, Koleshi, had slipped down over his left eye. His head drooped and his shoulders sagged. Fortunately, he sat in the shadow, and the old man did not perceive his unmannerly slumber. But the great secrets from which the veil had meanwhile been lifted remained concealed to him and consequently to us. مگر چونکه خو رفتد ای تمام رازها در اونجا مخفی من برزو و از این خاطر برز موستوام. الموید نشنیدی که چیز بگفت و خو رفتد نه؟ نه بس پیش رئیشن نه آخرش معلوم میشه. چون وہ از سیکرٹ خبر نہیں لیکن وہ چون کی اینا بزما ہے نا وہ گانا نا ما بیدار ما تمام شنیدم بس چیز گپ چیز تو اینا مر رہی کو. But the great secrets from which the veil had meanwhile been lifted remained concealed to him and consequently to us. He slept and his dreams were remote from all secrets of the future state. He dreamt of roads, the roads that haunted all his waking hours, of the noisy bazaars so dear to his heart, of the camel caravans in the desert, of the mountain passes where the travelers, holding on to the common rope, climb through the dense, wet clouds. He saw the blue blaze of the southern sea, the smooth, crystal clear, surging waves sweeping heavily beneath the tall prow of the ship, the clang of the rudder chain slithering against the ship's side, the wind-filled bellying sails of the Turkish reef Lucas. खूब मुश्किल खाता है अंग्रेजी दिखा मैं खाने English language है ना भाई शुरू करें भाई vocabulary रा. The skull cap बोरम बले खोला. The skull cap slid from Khoja Nasreddin's head and fell into his lap. He awoke with a start. The dervish proceeded with his oration. It may be asked, where then does our soul find its new embodiment upon quitting the earth? عليك بیدار شده انزین شروع منه که مگه خو قصه ده اینجا کنال روح واپس چطور ده یک بدن دیگه مرجع خیدانه. It may be asked, سوالیه, where then does our soul find its new embodiment upon quitting the earth, and where did it abide before its appearance upon the earth? که از اینجا که فارغ میشه کجا مورا از این پیش که اینجا باید کجا بود To this I shall answer, what of the astral bodies? جواب شیر توی تدمیت نیکی درباره ستاره‌ها چی میگی تو؟ What of the astral bodies, the stars scattered throughout the universe? We arrive upon earth from a star. We arrive upon earth from a star and depart to a star. We are starry wanderers. हम कायनाती आवारागर्द हैं, मुसाफिर हैं. कई बलीजी स्टार मोरे ग्लास है बस कई बलीजी स्टार में आए बस मुझे यार बोरे अल्लाह कोई जाए. खिमैल ज़्यादा. Oh, Khoja Nasreddin. And that is why the starry dome lures our gaze and fills us with exalted emotion. سر تعلق داری قضیه چرا ایتر حسو میخانه قضیه چرا بیگانه نی For that which we perceive above us is our own eternal and boundless homeland. خانه او نه ای طرفش معلومه نه اون طرفش معلومه کجا مور برد دیگه چی کار بزن Eternal and boundless homeland from which we have received our immortality. از این خاطر مو end نداره. Forever. کهانی forever. Khoja Nasreddin decided that the time had come to ask the old dervish a question in order to cover up his shameful somnolence. عالم مگه بچه چیز گفت مخاور افتادم بیا که معلومات کنی بایی اصل چیز خمومیز کدی دو غول بر دروز استارا رسنده ما اولش میز کدوم که دستار توش در بیرسی بایی Oh venerable sage, I have often had occasion to see falling stars. Let me see. ستاره که مفته. But how is one to interpret this phenomenon? چی معنا داره؟ این ستاره که مفته که میبینی که درو مفته collapse mana. It is well if the star that breaks away and falls is the one upon which I have already dwelt, okay? In some earlier reincarnation. But what if the fallen star happens to be the one to which I am destined to migrate? ये तुम्हार समझाओ को कितना ना कि मादम जो falling star रही बाशम तुम्हार बुगी किया मुझे कि माज पेश रफ्तों में चकर खसदों ये फरीद खैरा أمزي ولا نماذج ماسو نمزو migrate نمدرو. Where then will my soul search for it at the termination of its earthly existence? And what will it do with itself if it finds it not in the universe? समझो मसलन ما समझो safe हम. ये कोई दिगा मसलन रही है उसे लेने की स्टारी ज़ुख्ता परे. बज़ुक जामशा. The old man was somewhat taken aback. And he stared for a long time at Khoja Nasreddin with a perplexed eyes. And I was just about to praise you for the diligence with which you were trying to comprehend my words without interrupting the thread of my thought by foolish and irrelevant questions, he said with displeasure. الشروع که تو شتا بدی خیلی خوب شتا بدی دیج interrupt نمکدی خیلی دا غور گوش کده دی میتر گوش کنی سوال چی سوال پرسان تو He said with displeasure, but it is too late already. The midnight cocks have crowed and the watch has sounded the drums calling the inhabitants to extinguish the fires in their hearths. Go home in peace. Think about the secrets I have disclosed to you. And return tomorrow evening so that we can continue this conversation. Khoja Nasreddin rose, bowed in silence to the mendicant and left the cell. The night outside greeted him with a cold wind and pitch darkness, impenetrable as the ignorance in which many of the indolent in spirit and mind are steeped. تركير ده تشبيه ده كي غفلة مناي كده مني مدر غفلت ككاربارك بساونيا ونموت التركي. Khoja Nasreddin rose, bowed in silence to the mendicant and left the cell. The night outside greeted him with a cold wind and pitch darkness. Impenetrable. يعني توي ديدار دمني زدنا مثلي شرخما و impenetrable. يصير في يقدر darkness نه يقدر نديها مستا شرخما impenetrable as the ignorance in which many of the indolent in spirit. ذليل كنيه دمني روحان ازلي روحاني طور پر وكي دمني mind خوب يبتر غرقة دمني يمزو تركي ونمرقم تركي بود. The rain had ceased, baran qoishdat, however, and the clouds had thinned. Through a rift in the west, a solitary star peeped out timidly and tearfully. Through wet eyelashes, it looked down wonderingly upon the cold black earth, and there was so much loving gentleness in its radiant glance that Khoja Nasreddin felt deeply moved and wished, if astral wanderings were indeed to be his destined lot, that his soul would make it its home there. Oh, beautiful little blue star, be kind to me when my hour strikes. He mentally apostrophized it, his immortal soul soaring to heavenly heights, while at that very same moment its mortal envelope slipped upon a rickety footbridge consisting of two thin poles, and with a loud splash fell into a deep ariq filled with icy water. Khoja Nasreddin struggled out of the mire, drenched to the skin, and by the time he reached the home, he was blue and shivering. Mane joyam parda, badam khub tunda, ta khana rashda khubam tar bekhi dige. Shaitan knows where you wander about in this darkness, Guljan scolded as she hung up his wet clothes before the fire. Khub shaitan tu da gujasti da mishaw tirkiya. He was silent, inwardly cursing that saintly old man and his astral speeches, for the sake of which he had been obliged at night to embark in such a lamentable terrestrial execution. Nevertheless, the next evening found him sitting in the same cell, listening to the mendicant's second discourse. We have got 2 more pages to go. Do you want a break or do you want to stop it here for tonight? The next morning, which is good conversation, قد باكل قضي فقير وقضي درويش إلى جاري مليم داستان را. Next one. ठीक है ताई कि ينالي بس بريزونا की आमादनी है بريزي explosive ना बाशा. Page 31 आता है.